Around 700,000 years ago, in East Africa, a single hominin population starts splitting apart. One branch stays in Africa, the other heads north out through the Middle East, into Europe, a much colder, harsher world. That branch that went north? Over hundreds of thousands of years, isolated in Ice Age Europe, it evolves into something new, the Neanderthals. Thick-boned, barrel-chested, built for cold. Meanwhile, the branch that stayed behind kept evolving too, into us. Homo Sapiens. Taller, leaner, built for endurance instead of raw power. And then, around 50,000 years ago, our branch does the same migration theirs did. Except this time the destination is already occupied. Two different human species, sharing the same hunting grounds, the same caves, the same rivers. So, today's question, if it had come down to open conflict between these two, who actually wins, and under what conditions? Part 1. Meet the Neanderthals. Before we get to any hypothetical fight, let's be clear on who we're talking about. Neanderthals weren't the drooling brutes of old cartoons. Despite the persistent pop culture image of Neanderthals as semi-upright, hairy cavemen wielding clubs, the actual evidence paints a very different picture. They made tools, controlled fire, buried their dead, and likely had some form of language. Physically, though, they were built like tanks. A male Neanderthal weighed around 80 kilograms despite standing only about 1.70 meters tall. Short, but absurdly dense with muscle. Studies of their finger and wrist bones show a grip strength far beyond that of a modern human, and their forearms in particular were something else entirely. Many recovered Neanderthal skeletons show Popeye forearms, likely built up from a lifetime of stabbing large prey at close range and butchering it by hand. Part 2. Meet us. Homo sapiens took a completely different evolutionary path. Our lineage moved away from sheer body strength and toward the lean, efficient qualities of a long-distance runner. We traded raw power for stamina, mobility, and a body built to chase prey across open ground for hours. Neanderthal shoulder and arm construction favored strength and stability at close range, while Homo sapiens had a far more mobile scapula, better suited to overhead throwing motions. In plain terms, they were built to stab. We were built to throw. And then run. Part 3. If it came down to a fight. Okay, let's get into it. One-on-one, close range, no weapons. A Neanderthal would have had a clear power advantage over a Homo sapiens opponent. This isn't close. If a fight turned into a wrestling match, the Neanderthal almost certainly wins. But real conflict, actual prehistoric warfare, was never going to be a boxing match. And this is where it flips. Where sapiens had the edge, ranged weapons, Homo sapiens' more mobile shoulder joint made us the far better throwers, which meant projectile weapons. Spears you launch, not just stab with. A Neanderthal built for close quarters combat is at a massive disadvantage against someone who can put a spear in him from 10 meters away and never let him close the distance. Modern humans likely had a longer reach and more stamina than Neanderthals, and could use those advantages to wear an opponent down. The classic strategy of keeping him at arm's length, surviving the initial rush, and outlasting him. Where sapiens had the edge, numbers and networks. This is arguably the bigger factor. Sapiens groups appear to have maintained wider social networks, trading and coordinating across multiple bands rather than staying isolated. That matters enormously in a conflict. A group that can call in allies from 3 valleys over beats a group that's fighting alone every time, regardless of who's individually stronger. Where Neanderthals had the edge, terrain, and endurance in the cold. On their home ground, deep, cold, mountainous Ice Age Europe, in territory they'd occupied for hundreds of thousands of years, the equation shifts. Their build, cold-adapted physiology, and generations of hunting experience, in that specific terrain made them formidable survivors in exactly those conditions. A close-range ambush in dense forest or a narrow mountain pass neutralized the sapiens, throwing advantage almost completely. Suddenly it's back to a strength contest, and that favors them. Where Neanderthals had the edge, small-scale, sudden violence, in a short, chaotic skirmish where things get physical fast, before anyone has room to throw anything, raw power wins. Some studies suggest Neanderthals had a modest edge in peak muscular strength over contemporary Homo sapiens, and in a scramble at close range, that edge is decisive. So bottom line, sustained large-scale conflict across open or contested territory. Sapiens wins, mainly on tactics, coordination, and ranged weapons. A sudden close quarters clash on Neanderthal home turf. Neanderthals probably take it. Part 4. Did this actually happen? So who wins the Neanderthal versus Sapiens war? The honest answer is, it depends entirely on where and how it's fought. Up close in their forests in the cold, bet on the Neanderthal. Out in the open over time with allies and spears, bet on us. But maybe the real answer is that it was never really a war to begin with. It was a 10,000-year slow fade, part competition, part coexistence, and part family reunion, if the DNA is anything to go by.